Good evening and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi. The verdict in the Steve Hofmeyr and Conrad Koch Twitter feud came through in the last few days. We'll tell you about it today. And WITS has also become the first university in South Africa to offer online degrees. Tonight, we'll tell you about online activism as we are increasingly seeing it on Facebook and Twitter. During our discussion, we'll talk about internet trolling. We are on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. WITS University has made South Africa proud. The prestigious Johannesburg University is officially the first African institute of higher learning to offer online courses via the global edX platform. edX courses are a brainchild of American universities, Harvard and Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the online courses are offered in over 60 colleges and universities worldwide.
Massive open online courses are internet-based learning platforms. And now the world's #1 technology university, MIT, is partnering with WITS University to deliver online education opportunities to students in Africa and beyond. The project is called edX, and as Professor Zeblon Vilakazi of WITS University tells us, the benefit will be the ease with which students can access their courses.
You actually can access a huge amount of information sitting behind the desktop, your PC, your iPad, or even on an iPhone or any other smartphone that you have. Thereby, the whole idea is to democratize education and make education accessible.
Once any student is registered with edX, they are able to click on courses of their choice. These are also available in video form and interactive features. A big part of this system is that the learner receives instant feedback on their answers, and they can connect with other learners. Some of the 60 global colleges and universities that have taken the system on board say it has transformed education in their countries.
Bunker Hill Community College currently has 4,000 students enrolled in online courses. The partnership will enable us to offer a new course in a dynamic and interactive way.
Our college, our faculty, staff, and students will have access to the best in online education with world-class universities.
WITS online courses will open for enrollment towards the end of 2015, and students will receive a special edX certificate on completion of their courses.
Chester Missing has started tweeting to and about Afrikaans actor and singer Steve Hofmeyr. This after the Randburg Magistrates Court set aside an interim protection order against puppet master Conrad Koch. Hofmeyr obtained an interim court order after Chester Missing had challenged him when he tweeted that black people were the architects of apartheid. The court has dismissed the order against a ventriloquist with costs.
After Afrikaans singer and actor Steve Hofmeyr lost in court on Friday, he first tweeted that he accepted the court's decision. This was later followed by another tweet saying he was amazed that no one saw his case as harassment. Chester Missing, the puppet controlled by ventriloquist Conrad Koch, then tweeted that Hofmeyr had lied to the court and couldn't prove his case. When Magistrate Naren Swinarane dismissed the court order against Koch, he said that Hofmeyr was seeking an order to advance views that lend themselves to racism and advance the imposition of the apartheid regime. Hofmeyr had obtained the November 5 interim court order after Chester Missing had challenged him when he had tweeted that black people were the architects of apartheid. For a while, Koch and Missing stayed away from Hofmeyr's Twitter handle. They both had to defend themselves and educate those that support Hofmeyr and people who seem not to understand the way the wrongs of apartheid need to be corrected. After the court case on Friday, they started tweeting about Hofmeyr yet again.
Imagine if you could afford to buy anything you want just for a day. Where residents of Bromfley, Gimus and Uppington got early Christmas presents, all thanks to the technical glitches in the Postbank IT system.
A glitch in a Postbank IT system has resulted in a shopping spree for residents of the Northern Cape. Last Saturday, Postbank clients in several towns in a scarcely populated province were able to purchase goods with their debit cards. They exceeded their available amounts, but because of the bug in the system, their transactions were approved. Shop owners have apparently been shocked by the amount of customers that flooded in to buy groceries. People who would otherwise spend about 200 a week were buying groceries worth 2,000. On Sunday, some residents were reportedly driving to nearby towns to continue their shopping spree. There are others who even bought cheap second-hand cars. Postbank has admitted to a technical glitch in its system. An SMS response to network from Postbank MD, Mr. Shahid Adams, says that Postbank has implemented new systems and that glitches that rose during the upgrade have been fixed. Unfortunately for shoppers, they will have to repay the money they've spent.
Power outages and scheduled load shedding could be a distant memory soon, thanks to the new renewable energy of sun harvesting. Solar Reserve and Aquapower are planning to build the largest solar plants in the country. They're using concentrated solar power or CSP technology to store energy from the sun for later use.
Solar Reserve and ACWA Power are planning to build a 100-megawatt solar plant in Uppington in the Northern Cape using concentrated solar energy. Concentrated solar power is a 10-year-old technology that uses heat from the sun and stores it for more than 12 hours. This allows for the power to be used both night and day. The project forms part of the South African Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. CEO of ACWA Power, Paddy Padmanathan, says this project can be used concurrently with Eskom.
We actually will be producing 480,000 megawatt hours every year.
Currently, South Africa is using PV photovoltaic plant. PV converts sun rays into electrolytes. These electrolytes are used as direct electricity. However, this technology only works when there is sunlight.
The reality, as I keep pointing out to everybody, is both have a place in the system because the PV cannot work at night. To the extent that you want renewable power, CSP can deliver reliable, dispatchable power during the night.
Over the past few months, South Africans have been experiencing load shedding. Eskom has been feeling pressure on the grid, especially after the collapse of Silo 20 in Majuba plant. Now that the second silo has cracked, the country could be facing other blackouts. However, we could see lit bulbs if other technologies are brought in to help.
With protests back on Tahrir Square in Cairo in Egypt, many have taken to social media to share their solidarity. In America, protests in Ferguson seem geographically far from South Africa, but social media has created some kind of activism here too. People on Twitter and Facebook have likened racial tensions there to the situation here at home. Social media activism is something we've seen a lot of in South Africa with the Ferguson protests that have been taking place in America. People there have been angry at the decision not to prosecute a white police officer for shooting and killing a black teenager, Michael Brown. It seems that situation touched a nerve with South Africans in social media. Some even went as far as to compare police behavior in America with police behavior in South Africa. Hashtag Marikana appeared alongside hashtag Ferguson on many tweets. It was clear that some kind of activism was taking place in social networks, but does tweeting about these issues and not taking physical action ever help anyone?
The more people who are engaging, the more people who are doing it, whatever the sentiment, at the end of the day, someone else is becoming aware of something that they weren't aware of beforehand.
Earlier in the week, One Africa also engaged in activism of its own. The organization uploaded this video on YouTube. Here and through this viral video, the organization is using celebrities to ask governments to strengthen Africa's health systems to fight Ebola.
That is just the power of social media, where people are able to, through that, see the need and respond by adding their voice to the campaign. And in turn, the leaders would have to respond.
Analysts feel such form of social media activism does work in raising awareness. They cite the recent extremely popular Twitter and YouTube ALS Ice Bucket Challenge as a success story.
In 2013, these guys raised $1.3 million US dollars. After this challenge, they raised $11.7 million.
So, if nothing else, social media activism can serve as a tool for education about world issues. The skills gap in South Africa's information, communications and technology industry is rather worrying. A survey done by the Wits University's Joburg Center of Software and Engineering showed that a lack of improvement in the country's basic education system will not be helpful in bridging this gap.
Kenya recently had their GDP recalculated. The GDP rebasing saw an increase in the country's economy. Kenyan officials acknowledged technology as a big player in the economy's improvement.
I'm not surprised that ICT has emerged to be one of the key contributors of development in the country and a big sector. You only need to see what we've done with M-Pesa, which has been riding on the backbone of better ICT.
An ICT skills survey conducted by the Wits University's Johannesburg Center for Software Engineering showed that South Africa is lagging behind other African countries such as Nigeria, Kenya and Egypt. Different initiatives such as Techno Girls have sprouted to try and bridge the existing ICT skills gap among the youth of this country. Only this one mainly focuses on getting young girls interested in technology.
Those who complete the studies, they go into the field and they find that the field is just mainly dominated. And men will marginalize you, will go out and have beer together, form relationships, and you will not be there.
Private information, communications and technology companies, as well as government, are also trying to find solutions for this issue.
We are in discussions with local African, South African entrepreneurs and to create an incubator environment where we can open up our interfaces on mobile money, for example, on charging systems, to develop applications that make sense in Africa to create that sort of innovative environment.
Some schools don't have facilities, don't have the resources, but now they have got these on their fingertips. With the gadgets which Multisource has donated, they have got tablets with internet connectivity now. All what was a dream for them in the past, all the things they couldn't get hold of, this time they are able to access.
The Johannesburg Center for Software Engineering report states that there is a significant lack of improvement in South Africa's basic education. The survey shows us that South Africa's ICT industry has a long way to go until it gets the proper facelift that it so desperately needs.
After the break, we'll talk about internet trolling. It's News Network at SABC.co.za and email. Stay with us.
GovTech is South Africa's premier ICT event hosted by CETA. Our theme for GovTech 2014 is a government empowered by technology. Our topics will explore e-government, infrastructure and broadband, reducing the cost of ICT and service delivery, best practice, innovation and success stories. Join us at the Durban ICC on 2nd to 5th November 2014. Register now on www.govtech.co.za.
Welcome back. Now, internet trolling once again came under the spotlights this week. This as the influential tech blog Recode announced that it has shut off the comment forum on its website. This announcement comes on the heels of Reuters' decision to remove comments on its website as well. In its 7th November statement, the global news gathering organization said much of the well-informed and articulate discussion around news, as well as the criticism or praise for stories, has moved to social media and online forums. The SABC also has a somewhat similar policy, but why are the websites increasingly avoiding to host public comments and instead leaving that responsibility to the likes of Twitter and Facebook? Many feel that people who internationally roam the net to spew hatred and abuse are to blame. Now, to unpack this issue, we are joined by three guests. It's Marita Pritchard, who is a strategic communications lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. She will help us understand what internet trolling is. We are also joined by Tegan Betzer, who is a digital media specialist here at the SABC. She'll explain the SABC news strategy when it comes to posting your comments online. And in Durban, we are joined by the blogger Trevor Kleinans. Trevor has an article titled "Blog Because You Love to Forget the Trolls." Welcome and thank you for being a part of our network.
Thank you.
Starting with you, Marita, what is internet trolling?
Trolling is the dark belly or the dark underside of freedom of speech and democracy and the wonderful privilege to be able to speak your mind. However, some people go a little bit further and they comment usually to provoke somebody's anger or hatred. To spew abuse, to be violent towards people, whether it is slander or racism. It is often also comments that you wouldn't say to somebody face to face. It's much easier. You are behind your keyboard. If I don't see you face to face, I see your photograph. It's very easy for me to, say all sorts of comments that I won't say to you in person because there's no humanness there.
Trevor, in Durban, you write about being HIV positive, and that's interesting as tomorrow is World AIDS Day, but you've also been a victim of trolling on the net as a result of this. Can you tell us about what happened to you?
Yeah, Pumalila, what happened to me is I wrote a book about my life, and I do it for people to learn from my mistakes and from my experiences. And so it happens with my blogging as well. So I wrote I knew it was going to be controversial, a very controversial blog regarding myself giving up antiretroviral treatment and going on to the positive mindset homeopathic route, which I know is extremely controversial and there's a lot of doubt behind it. And I have since changed my mind. But what happened was, it was a blog about my experience, me wanting to do it, and being honest about it and plotting my path as I went along. Well, it was viewed over 13,000 times within 48 hours. You then look at the comments, and I had 141 comments. When I analyzed those comments, 37 of those comments were between two trolls trying to outdo each other. You then miss what is actually the good that comes out of the blog, was that of the 13,000 views, there were close to 600 likes on that blog, and it was shared 31 times. So if a blogger can be very put off when they look at the comments, because on a lot of these sites, you can write about blue skies and green grass and it'll revert to politics, religion, or racism, one of those three. So, you've got to look deeper as a blogger, and you've sort of got to try and not be put off, because, it's opened up, the internet has opened up a fantastic world to us, where we can actually all write and do something that we love.
All right, Tegan, sabc.co.za/news has disabled comments on its website. Is this partly because of trolls on the net?
It's not necessarily disabling of comments. We do encourage comments on our website, but we go about it in a non-traditional manner. As you mentioned earlier, Reuters have directed their comments to social media, and we see our online presence as an ecosystem where we publish content on our website, our social media platforms, our YouTube channel, and we use tools, curation tools like Storyfy, and as well as widgets that we embed the comments onto our website. And we also we use tools like Livefire, third-party tools like Livefire and Discuss.
You obviously don't embed every comment on the website.
No, certainly not. Everything has to go by a sound editorial process. We're not just going to put any old comment up. It has to go by a specific process, which is important because there are legal implications for running comments on one's website. We could be held liable for them. And as Marita had mentioned earlier on, it's easy for people to hide behind a screen and even set up a fake account. But users or viewers must be made aware that if, as an individual, you have access to media to publish, you are essentially considered a publisher. So you can be held accountable for the comments that you post on a website.
Marita, how bad is trolling in South Africa? Do we know?
Oh, just missing, you had an insert around that earlier on. It's quite prevalent. People are very psyched up. They get really very, very malicious. And you can also see, and that is what the blogger said as well, people, well, very often trollers want to outshine one another and see how vicious they can get, because apparently that is the psyche of a troll. As somebody said to me, I have nothing to do, so let's see who we can pick on in order to get some sort of a reaction, and that is the reward. So yeah, it's quite prevalent in South Africa.
All right, thank you very much, Marita Pritchard, for joining us and being a part of our network tonight. And thank you very much again, Betsa, and Trevor Claynons in Durban. Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to have to take a quick break, and after the break, we'll chat about digital media integration. You can find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
All right, welcome back. It's Network. It's SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter, rather. Now, with the explosion and growth of marketing technology, businesses are spending billions to have the tools and capabilities to better connect with and service their customers. Digital integration could be seen as an answer to reducing these costs. To talk about this, we're joined by Scott Kandel, founder of Majestic3.com. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network, Scott.
Sifo Malele, thank you very much.
All right, so now, what is digital integration exactly?
It's essentially the concept of taking a whole lot of digital media strategies, if you like, or digital media channels like Facebook, Twitter, etc., email, digital, and putting them together in almost like a string of pearls. And that essentially has a much higher response rate than just kind of thinking one-dimensionally. So this whole kind of strategy about putting these media together tends to have a much, much higher response rate. So the integration is putting that together, and then of course there's a kind of boring underlying IT part of that, which also goes with it.
How easy is it to put them together?
It's traditionally been very difficult. Traditionally, I say. That is changing extremely rapidly. There's a huge buzz and a huge amount of excitement with launches of companies like Zapier.com, that sort of thing. And they're essentially allowing integration to become quick and easy, and watch the space over the next 2 years, because it's going to explode.
You saying it could be the answer to reducing costs that businesses sometimes incur. Can you tell us about this?
That's right. Well, essentially what integration allows you to do is, especially when it goes beyond the social media networks and actually becomes part of their existing data infrastructure. Now, when you start to be able to tap into a company's existing data infrastructure, you can start to really do some amazing things, because now you've almost created a marketing window to the whole company. So instead of exporting a whole bunch of data out of a database, then importing it into MailChimp and building, everything can happen from one window. Now, that is hugely exciting to a lot of companies, and you can imagine from a time-saving perspective and cost-saving perspective, it's really exciting.
The Western world has cheaper internet access, for example, compared to South Africa. Do you find that businesses maybe are running away from it because of how expensive connecting to the net is in South Africa?
Even if you consider that South Africa is slightly more expensive or considerably more expensive than overseas, it's still, compared to the big picture, a huge cost saver. It really is. So it still works out as a great opportunity.
All right. Scott Kandel, founder of Majestic3.com. Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you, Sifa Malele.
Now let's take a look at what some people are sharing in social media. With World AIDS Day tomorrow, many on Twitter have been sharing information about this. Some are chatting about organizations in AIDS activism. Others are chatting about events that they will be attending on the day. There's been electronic voting for the very first time in Africa. These have taken place in Namibia, which is currently busy with vote counting. Cairo's Tahrir Square has been a popular topic again. This is after massive protests have started yet again in the Egyptian capital. They started yesterday after the court dismissed charges against former President Hosni Mubarak. Mubarak was forced by previous protests in 2011 to resign. All right, that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's News Network at sabc.co.za. An email from me and the rest of the team. Have a good one.
Guinea is reopening an Ebola clinic in its remote southeast in an effort to prevent sick nationals seeking better treatment elsewhere.
The new labor law also